Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivara Acharya Ashvatara Sata Srimad His Grace et si Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivara Acharya Ashvatara Sata Srimad His Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Seko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kundiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जय, श्री श्री गौनिताई की जय, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ सुभद्रा बलदेव की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदी, all glories to the Samalimutis, all glories to the Samalimutis, all glories to the Samalimutis, all glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishupadaya Krishna Prastagutare, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Prachadine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Skanda, 15th chapter, Shloka 7, 8, 9, 10. Shloka number 7 and 8 don't have any purport. I shall read. Maitreya Uvacha Prasansanti Smatam Vipra Gandharva Pavara Jaguhu Mumuchu Sumano Dharaha Siddha Nrityanti Swastiyaha. Maitreya Uvacha Prasansanti Smatam Vipra Gandharva Pavara Raguhu Mumuchu Sumano Dharaha Siddha Nrityanti Swastriyaha. Maitreya Uvacha Prasansanti Smatam Vipra Gandharva Pravara Jaguhu Mumuchu Sumanodharaha Siddha Nrityanti Swastriyaha. Maitreya Uvacha. The great Saint Maitreya said, Prasansantisma, praised, glorified, Tam, him, Pritu, Vipraha, all the Brahmanas, Gandharva Pravaraha, the best of the Gandharvas, Jaguhu, chanted, Mumuchuhu, released, Sumanadharaha, showers of flowers, Siddhaha, the personalities from Siddhaloka, Nrityanti, were dancing, Swaha, of the heavenly planets, Striyaha, women like the Apsaras, Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, "My dear Viduraji, at that time all the Brahmanas highly praised and glorified the King Prithu, and the best singers of Gandharvaloka chanted his glories. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka showered flowers, and the beautiful women in the heavenly planets danced in ecstasy." Please repeat. The great sage Maitreya continued, "My dear Viduraji, at that time all the Brahmanas highly praised and glorified King Prithu, and the best singers of Gandharvaloka chanted his glories. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka showered flowers, and the beautiful women in the heavenly planets danced in ecstasy." Shloka number 8. Sankaturya mridangadya nedur dundhubayo divi tatra sarva upajagmu devarshi pitrunam ganaha. Sankaturya mridangadya nedur dundhubayo divi tatra sarva upajagmur devarshi pitrunam ganaha. Sri Sri Gaunitai ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev ki jai. Sankaturya mridangadya nedur dundubayo divi tatra sarva upajagmuh devarshi pitrunam ganaha. Sankha, conches, turya, bugles, mridanga, drums, adyaha, and so on, neduhu, vibrated, dundubayaha, kettle drums, divi, in outer space, tatra, there, sarve, all, upajagmuhu, came, devarshi, demigods and sages, pitrunam, our forefathers, ganaha, groups. Translation. Conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums vibrated in outer space. Great sages, forefathers, and personalities from the heavenly planets all came to Earth from various planetary systems. Please repeat. Conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums vibrated in outer space. Great sages, forefathers, and personalities from the heavenly planets all came to Earth from various planetary systems. Sloka number 9 and 10. Brahma Jagat Guru Devahi Sahasritya Sureswarahi Vainyasya Dakshine Haste Drishtva Chinnam Gadabritaha Padayor Aravindam Cha Tam Vaimene Hare Kalam Yasya Patihatam Chakram Amsasa Parameshtinaha Brahma Jagat Guru Devai Sahasritya Sureswarahi Vainyasya Dakshine Haste Drishtva Chinnam Gadabritaha Padayor Aravindam Cha Tam Vaimene Hare Kalam Yasya Patihatam Chakram Amsasa Parameshtinaha Brahma Jagadguru Devai Sahasritya Sureshwarahi Vainyasya Dakshine Haste Drishtva Chinnam Gadabritaha Padayoravindam Cha Tam Vaimene Hare Kalam Yasya Patihatam Chakram Amsasa Parameshtinaha. Brahma, Lord Brahma, Jagat Guru, the Master of the Universe, Devahi, by the demigods, Saha, accompanied, Asritya, arriving, Sura Iswarahi, with the chiefs of all the heavenly planets, Vainyasya, of Maharaj Prithu, the son of Vena, Dakshine, right, Haste, on the hand, Trishtva, seeing, Chinnam, mark, Gadabritaha, of Lord Vishnu, who carries a club, Padayoho, on the 2 feet, Aravindam, lotus flower, Cha, also, Tam, him, why, certainly, Mene, he understood, Harehe, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kalam, part of the plenary expansion, Yasya, whose, Apatihatam, invincible, Chakram, disc, Amsaha, partial representation, Sa, he, Parameshtinaha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation: Lord Brahma, the Master of the entire universe, arrived there accompanied by all the demigods and their chiefs. Seeing the lines of Lord Vishnu's palm on King Prithu's right hand and impressions of lotus flowers on the soles of his feet, Lord Brahma could understand that King Prithu was a partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one whose palm bears the sign of a disc, as well as other such lines, should be considered a partial representation or incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Please repeat. Lord Brahma, the Master of the entire universe, arrived there, accompanied by all the demigods and their chiefs. Seeing the lines of Lord Vishnu's palm on Prithu's right hand and impressions of lotus flowers on the soles of his feet, Lord Brahma could understand that King Prithu was a partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one whose palm bears the sign of a disc, as well as other such lines, should be considered a partial representation or incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace, S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There is a system by which one can detect an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nowadays, it has become a cheap fashion to accept any rascal as an incarnation of God. But from this incident, we can see that Lord Brahma personally examined the hands and feet of King Prithu for specific signs. In their prophecies, the learned sages and Brahmanas accepted Prithu Maharaj as a plenary partial expansion of the Lord. During the presence of Lord Krishna, however, a king declared himself Vasudeva, and Lord Krishna killed him. Before accepting someone as an incarnation of God, one should verify his identity according to the symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. With all these symptoms, the pretender is subject to be killed by the authorities for pretending to be an incarnation of God. Om Ajnana Timilandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapalantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavansya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Ladita Sri Visakam Vitansya. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesya Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The appearance of King Prithu was felt throughout the universe. Although he appeared apparently just in front of a few Brahmanas out of the body of King Vena, but as the Brahmanas considered him to be a partial expansion of the Lord. In other words, as a Sakyabhesha avatar of the Supreme Lord in order to rule the planet Earth. All the other inhabitants of higher planets became aware of the appearance of King Prithu, and they became extremely joyful. In that state of ecstasy, all of them started to play musical instruments, especially Gandharvas. Apsaras, they started to dance, and in this way there was a kirtan going on throughout the entire universe in order to celebrate the appearance of King Prithu. So this is the system actually for receiving the Supreme Lord. as here in the temple of Lord Krishna, Radha, Madan Mohan, Gaur Nitai, Jagannath, Subhadra, Baladev, and other temples established by Srila Prabhupada throughout the world. Not only there should be deity worship regularly, but also this should be accompanied by continuous kirtan. Kirtan means glorification of the Lord's name, fame, leelas, and so on. So either by playing musical instruments, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and so on. Once when Srila Prabhupada was here, somebody suggested, Swamiji, there are many temples in our state, Andhra Pradesh, and they are isolated or nobody is looking after them. These temples are just lying there. Instead of building a new temple, why don't you take over some of these abandoned temples where the Supreme Lord is staying there without any proper seva? So Srila Prabhupada answered to this that our temple is different from other temples. In our temples there is regular kirtan, recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and so on. That is the difference between Iskcon temples and other temples. Yesterday, for instance, I went to a very beautiful temple in Banjara Hills, but there was no kirtan. And because they had made it just like a museum, it was well maintained, it was looking actually beautifully constructed, but unfortunately that something was missing. The devotion, the art of devotion was missing. There was no kirtan. And as a result, a few people were going here and there, and that's all, and then go. But when there is kirtan and pravachan, then people who come to the temple, they will be impressed by the sound vibration. That should accompany with this darshan of the Lord. Darshan of the Lord, Shravana Darshanam. One should hear about the Lord. That is the real darshan, especially Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced. Deity worship was a system of self-realization in the age of Dwapara Yuga. Dwapara Yuga, many magnificent temples were built for the worship of the Lord. But as in Kali Yuga, as the time passes, many of these temples are being abandoned, and nobody cares to worship properly the Lord in his temples. So therefore, the Harinam Sankirtan and propagation of the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam through book printing and book distribution, that is the real worship in Kali Yuga to be promoted. Of course, as long as deity worship is possible, Srila Prabhupada has introduced also deity worship for his disciples. But as time passes, the influence of Kali Yuga will make it very difficult to worship the deity in that manner. But the Harinam Sankirtan will remain throughout the age of Kali. So here, many thousands and millions of years ago, there was a kirtan going on to celebrate the appearance of King Prithu. So along with the kartals, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us, mridanga and kartals. That is quite sufficient to have a musical accompaniment. There is no need of any other musical instruments. These two instruments are sufficient. But here to celebrate Prithu's appearance, conch shells, bugles. Bugles means wind, no, like a trumpet. Drums and kettle drums. Kettle drum, grrr, kettle drum. Lord Shiva is having a kettle drum, dundubi. So drums means mridanga here. That is very interesting. Mridanga mentioned here in the Srimad Bhagavatam to glorify the Lord. Prabhupada gave much importance to the mridanga. He came to America, but at that time it was not possible for him to carry mridanga. But when he started preaching in America, then he wrote letter to some of his friends in India to send a mridanga. So a mridanga was sent from India going to America, and I think it reached San Francisco, if I'm not wrong. When the mridanga came, Srila Prabhupada was staying on the upper floor, immediately came down the stairs to receive the mridanga. At that time, Tamal Krishna Goswami also was there, and he had taken the lift. But Prabhupada had come quicker than Tamal Krishna, coming by the staircase. And as soon as Prabhupada opened the box, he saw the mridanga. He was in ecstasy. He took his upper cloth and he tore it into two, and he put a cloth immediately. He put a cloth on the mridanga to honor the mridanga. Mridanga, Prabhupada considered the mridanga to be inseparable part of the deity. Lord Krishna is always accompanied by musical instruments such as the mridanga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always with mridanga. So it is part of the clothes. It is just like any other part of the body of the Lord. Mridanga is non-different, therefore should be worshipped also, should never be neglected, should never be offense. We should avoid committing offenses against the mridanga. So Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Goswami, now I've kept a cloth around mridanga. It should be always wrapped in a cloth. That is a mark of respect. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada, just like here, inhabitants of Swarga, they are also bringing mridanga to have a kirtan for Maharaj Prithu. So, and Lord Brahma came, and other inhabitants of Siddhaloka, the sages, they came, and immediately, as mentioned here, Lord Brahma examined the body of King Prithu, and especially his hands and feet. So he saw some symbol on the right hand of King Prithu, and lotus flower on the soles of the feet. On the palm, there were special lines. Just like you go to a palmist astrologer, you show your hand, and you see your lines. He'll tell you, you will live up to the age of 76, not more than that. That is, the lifeline is there, that is your maximum age. And then you will have so much, etc. He will describe what happened in your life and so on. So those who are experts, that is also part of Vedic knowledge, astrology, so they can understand by seeing the hand what kind of personality this is. and feet also. Lord Brahma saw on the feet of King Prithu different symbols, especially the what is he saw? Lotus flowers on the soles of the feet. And in this way he could understand that King Prithu was a partial expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a very special indication. So in this way, the judgment of the Brahmanas at that time was confirmed by Lord Brahma, and everybody in the universe came to understand that King Prithu is not ordinary living being, not ordinary Kshatriya, but he is an expansion of the Lord, Saktya Avatar. So they were extremely happy. Regarding the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, that is also very special. And in the Nectar of Devotion, I was reading, and I can read from the Nectar of Devotion, how the lotus feet of Lord Krishna are also so beautiful that they are also a part of the Lord Krishna's mark, special marks. Here, the gopis requested Hansadutta to search after the marks of Krishna's lotus feet and to accept them as Lord Brahma had accepted them on his helmet after he had stolen all Krishna's cowherd boys. Regretting his challenge to Krishna, Lord Brahma had bowed down before the Lord, and his helmet became marked with the footprints of Krishna. So we have read from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Dasima Skanda, that Lord Brahma, he could not exactly understand who is this boy wandering in Vrindavan and who is frolicking, having his play games with the Gopas and Gopis. So he came and stole all the cowherd boys. Then after one day of Brahma, he came back and he saw that the same cowherd boys were there still playing with Lord Krishna. And he saw expansions of Lord Vishnu coming out and going back inside the body of Lord Krishna as a small boy. So he could understand this boy is not ordinary. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he saw on Govardhan the footprints of Lord Krishna. And while bowing down to Lord Krishna, Lord Brahma makes sure that these footprints be imprinted on his helmet. So this is the description here. So important for Lord Brahma, these footprints. The gopis reminded Hansadutta that sometimes even the great sage Narada becomes very ecstatic by seeing these footprints. And sometimes great liberated sages also aspire to see them, and so on. There is another explanation of what is called stimulation for ecstatic love, Uddipana. Lord Krishna is endowed with various paraphernalia, various personal qualities that are visible, and all these paraphernalia and association with Lord Krishna, these associated things and people immediately can remind us of Lord Krishna. And Uddipana means it is an instigation or a promotion for further ecstatic love for the Supreme Lord. So one of these uddipana, for instance, the buffalo horn, because Krishna is blowing into his buffalo horn. So as soon as the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they hear this buffalo horn, immediately they become ecstatic. Oh, Krishna is there, he's playing with it, he's blowing his horn. Then leg bells. Krishna is having nupur, leg bells. And when Krishna is walking, then the sound of the leg bells is so sweet, so wonderful, that those inhabitants of Vrindavan, they can hear. And oh, Krishna is coming, he's going this way, that way, in this way. When Krishna danced on the heads of Kaliya, his nupur, leg bells, they're also tinkling, cling, 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 making wonderful musical vibration. These are not ordinary sound vibration. Uddipana. Immediately, the love for Krishna increases unlimitedly. And another Uddipana, Krishna's footprints. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that when Akrura, who drove Krishna from Vrindavan to Mathura, saw the footprints of Krishna on the land of Vrindavan, his ecstatic love for Krishna increased so much that the hairs on his body stood up. His eyes became overflooded with tears, and in such ecstasy, he jumped out of the chariot and fell down on the ground and began to chant, "How wonderful this is! How wonderful this is!" So Akrura coming from Mathura to Vrindavan to take Krishna back to Mathura again. But that is the first encounter. Before Akrura met Krishna personally in Vrindavan, he saw the footprints on the ground and he understood this is Krishna himself, none different from Krishna. That is the realization of the pure devotees of the Lord. They don't consider this to be something external or just a footprints. What is this? It is not important. What is this? Simply because the sand is little soft, so footprint is there. It is, but they consider it not as a material print, but as the transcendental print of Lord Krishna, non-different from Krishna himself. Therefore, Akrura, a pure devotee of the Lord, became completely ecstatic. And Akrura is celebrated as a person who achieved perfection by enunciating stava or prayers in glorification of Lord Krishna. By seeing the footprints, Akrura achieved his perfection in his life. He has been a devotee of the Lord, but at the same time he was a servant of Kamsa. But the perfection of his life came simply by seeing the footprints of Lord Krishna. Similar feelings were expressed by the gopis when they were going to the bank of the Yamuna and saw Krishna's footprints in the dust. When Krishna walked on the ground of Vrindavan, the marks of his soul, that is, the flag, the thunderbolt, the fish, a rod for controlling elephants, and a lotus flower. I repeat, we can memorize, because sometimes if we happen to see a footprints with such marks, then we understand Krishna is not far away. The flag, the thunderbolt, the fish, a rod for controlling elephants, and a lotus flower. These marks would be imprinted upon the dust of the land. The gopis became overwhelmed simply at seeing those marks on the ground. the gopis were looking for Krishna in the forest. Krishna had disappeared from the Rasa Kriya, and all the gopis were lamenting, where is Krishna? Where did he go? And so at one point they saw the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna. So again they became ecstatic. Oh, Lord Krishna is there. He is there nearby. So in this way, by following the footprints, they could reach again Lord Krishna in that manner. So here, the lotus flower, this King Prithu is a partial expansion Sakyavesha avatar of the Lord. So one sign is there on his foot, and that is the lotus flower. The lotus feet of Lord Krishna have many other signs, but the lotus flower also is there on King Prithu's foot. In this way, Lord Brahma could understand that King Prithu is not ordinary, but is avatar of the Lord, meant to rule the Earth planet. So we can end here. Of course, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that in order to accept somebody as an incarnation of Krishna, one should know the Shastra. There should be Shastra Praman and also examination of the foot and hand. That will be very helpful to understand that this person is not ordinary. If the Shastra says that his father is so-and-so, his mother is so-and-so, he is born in such and such place, then we'll understand that this person must be an incarnation of the Lord as described in the Shastra. And if the signs are there on his hand and foot, this is a further confirmation. So the sign should be there. It cannot be just a sentiment of the followers. Our Guru is very great. He must be incarnation of God. So just like in Bengal, there was sometime a Guru who had many followers, and when he passed away, the followers considered that, no, our Guru is not dead. He is still there. So they kept the body in this way, and they were just waiting when our Guru is going to wake up. So one day, 1 week, 1 month went on like this, and they were hoping that our Guru is going to wake up, because he's not ordinary. He is incarnation of God. So everybody came to know what was happening, and the government also came to know, and some of the government officers, they came to see the very bad smell coming out of the body, and they talked to the followers, what is this? What you are doing here? No, we cannot accept this. And they took away the body forcibly, and they threw it away. So that is mere sentiment. To judge whether a person is incarnation cannot be a matter of sentiment. There are many others. When Prabhupada was in Australia, somebody had come, and he was, publicity came that he is incarnation of God. So Prabhupada, there was a press conference, and some reporter asked Prabhupada, what do you think of so-and-so? Is he God? Prabhupada said, he is not God, he is dog. D-O-G, God, dog. Not G-O-D. So that was the judgment. So everybody was shocked. But Prabhupada was not afraid because Prabhupada was speaking on the strength of Shastra. Unless it is described on Shastra, nobody can accept somebody as incarnation. So-called incarnations, they claim to be God, but as soon as they have some toothache, they go to the dentist to cure their toothache. How God can have toothache, of course. But the followers are not considering that. They think that Leela, this is a Leela of Avatar. Leela, out of compassion, he goes to the dentist to give mercy to the dentist. That is their excuse. Anyway, there are so many other considerations, but here Prabhupada is very strong again in the purport that if somebody pretends to be God, but if it's just a pretense, he is subject to be killed, just like so-called Vasudeva at the time of Krishna. He had kept 2 extra arms, artificial arms, and he was pretending to be Narayana. So Krishna killed him. That is the sanction, that is the punishment for somebody who claims to be God. He deserves to be killed in this way. Any other questions or comments? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.